Good day everyone. Here is the video discussion of our topic for today. I am Gabriel Lucero and I am with Rey Marc Cabacungan, Krisha Elaine de la Rosa, Xander Delavane, Karl Jericho Bennett, Michael Ibrao, and Dina Agsalog. So our topic for today is called Tay-Sachs Disease. So for our lesson objectives, at the end of the lesson, the students should be able to define Tay-Sachs disease and identify the gene and enzyme involved in the disorder, explain the genetic inheritance pattern of Tay-Sachs disease, and describe how it is passed from parents to offspring, and differentiate between the infantile, juvenile, and adult late onset forms of Tay-Sachs disease in terms of symptoms and progression. So let's start with the discussion. So what is Tay-Sachs disease? So it is a lysosomal storage disorder caused by mutation in a gene on chromosome 15, which codes for a lysosomal enzyme called beta-hexosaminidase A or Hex-A. So without Hex-A, these substances, especially GM2 gangliosides, build up in nerve cells and damage them. So next slide is a history of Tay-Sachs disease. So named after the British ophthalmologist Warren Tay, who first described the red spot on the retina of the eye in 1881, and the American neurologist Bernard Sachs, who described the circular changes of Tay-Sachs and noted an increased prevalence in the Eastern European Jewish population in 1887. The next slide will be discussed of Mr. Bisaya.
This enzyme normally breaks down a lipid called GM2 ganglioside. It's mainly found in neurons, so without Hex-A, it accumulates inside lysosome. Genetic inheritance is an autosomal recessive genetic condition, so males and females affected equally, inheriting one mutated Hex-A gene from each asymptomatic or heterozygous parent in order to develop the homozygous.
For people with the disease, symptoms don't start until the child is several months old. By 3 or 4 years old, the nervous system is in bad shape and the child almost certainly dies. Some children live a little longer than 5 years old, but the majority die under 5 years old.
So, here are the symptoms of Tay-Sachs disease. In infantile Tay-Sachs disease, infants with Tay-Sachs disease appear to develop normally for the first few months of life. As nerve cells become filled with fatty material, deterioration of mental and physical abilities occurs. The child becomes blind, deaf, and unable to swallow. Muscles begin to atrophy and paralysis sets in. Other neurological symptoms include dementia, seizures, and an increased startle reflex to noise.
Other symptoms for Tay-Sachs disease is the juvenile Tay-Sachs disease. It is extremely rare and usually presents itself in children between 2 and 10 years of age. They develop cognitive, motor, speech difficulties like dysarthria, swallowing difficulties, dysphagia, unsteadiness of gait, ataxia, and spasticity. Patients with juvenile TSD usually die between 5 to 15 years.
Other symptoms of Tay-Sachs disease is the adult or late onset Tay-Sachs disease. This is a rare form of the disorder known as adult onset Tay-Sachs disease or late onset Tay-Sachs disease. This occurs in patients in their 20s and early 30s. It is characterized by unsteadiness of gait and progressive neurological deterioration. The symptoms of LATS which present in adolescence or early adulthood include speech and swallowing difficulties, unsteadiness of gait, spasticity, cognitive decline, and psychiatric illness, particularly schizophrenic-like psychosis.
Treatment and prevention. There is no cure for Tay-Sachs. Treatment is focused on controlling the symptoms, feeding those diagnosed with Tay-Sachs, controlling seizures, and more. Doctors have been trying to cure the late onset form of Tay-Sachs by a pharmacological chaperone. There is also stem cell researching being carried on, but as of yet, there is not enough information for specific results about reversing or slowing damage to the central nervous system for people with Tay-Sachs. So the only way to prevent Tay-Sachs from being inherited is by testing for Tay-Sachs and avoid marrying a spouse who is a carrier for this disease. This is end of our discussion, and thank you for listening. Have a great day.